Right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode number 405 of the Restore and Rapport podcast. This is a podcast for young believers who are pursuing the goal of healthy marriage and family and trying to get married as young as possible in a healthy way according to God's design. My name is Seth Hensley. I come on this show twice a week, every week on Thursday and Sunday to discuss not only the benefits of getting married young, but I try to equip and encourage you in your pursuit of those healthy goals. And today we're going to be reviewing a video by Matt Fradd. He titled the clip like the best dating advice you'll ever get, but really what he ends up doing in this clip is he goes into parenting advice, and I think that's interesting because I really think it's a totally seamless transition if you view dating as the road to marriage and children as the good result of a healthy marriage, because those things really are kind of inextricably linked. Because if dating is the road to marriage, and if children are the result of marriage, or the offspring, or the fruit of marriage, or the healthy result of marriage, unless you're getting in the way of God's design with contraception or something, or, abstaining from, sex, which I would argue scripture has not called you to do, for long periods of time, then those things are very heavily connected. And I know a lot of people don't like to think of that way. It makes them uncomfortable because they think of dating as, or they like to think of dating as, I should say, something a lot more casual. But I'm unconvinced that casual dating has ever gotten us anything good as a culture, especially as the church. Like casual dating within the church, I don't really see any good fruit from that. And, I'm open to having my mind change, of course, but I really think that you need to be a lot more foresighted, a lot more forward thinking than you are probably in your current season of life. And I'm not saying that to barb you. I'm just saying like the church as a whole, the young people in the church need to be like, what's the word? We need to be considering the consequences of our actions more. We need to be considering the purpose of something before we enter it. We need to be very clear in our intentions with the people we communicate with. We need to be moving towards goals that matter and doing so in a sustainable and wise way. And so, yeah, I think dating is totally linked to raising children. Changed my mind on that. I know that was kind of a weird thing to say, but he's going to give you what I think is some incredible parenting advice here. And I'm a brand new parent, so don't take my words to be like gospel here. Lainey is currently at 12 weeks pregnant. She's about to go into the second trimester as of the day of this recording, actually. So I haven't even, begun the raising and care of my own child at the point that this podcast is recording. Now, I have taken care of thousands of children that belong to other people because I'm a public school teacher. And most teachers even don't get to the point where they've actually taken care of thousands of children and taught thousands of children until they've taught for, a very long time or in a very large district. But I actually have the unique position of having already done that despite the fact that I've only taught 4 years, because I'm an activity teacher. So for 40 minutes a day, I have a constant influx and rotation of children going in and out of my room every day. I have every student in my school district's elementary. So that's 650 students this year only. And I had, those students and more last year. And the year before that, I taught a class. I had a homeroom class. That's the year where I didn't know many children because I was only around my 11 students that year. So I got to know them really, really well, which I really enjoyed. And the year before that, I was a sub. So I had all the students again, and I, got to know them all. And in fact, I think I only subbed 1 year. I got 1 full year of retirement from subbing. And then the year before that, I student taught. And the year before that, I student taught. So I guess I have like 5-6 years of experience total. But yeah, I haven't begun the raising and rearing of my own. Yeah, so just take my words with, a grain of salt here. But this is kind of my journal of, things that I want my kids to know, number one, as they're growing up. I kind of joke with my wife sometimes. I'm like, sometimes she'll ask me, when are we going to allow our kids to date? When are we going to allow our kids to date? That is a question that has had such ramifications in my life because my parents asked that question and answered that question. My parents' friends asked that question and answered that question. And in doing so, shaped the course of their children's life in good ways and bad ways. And I'm trying to, it's now where I'm in the position. Well, I have many years before my children get to this point, but I'm realizing that I'm going to be in the same position where I'm going to have to ask myself, when am I going to allow my children to date? How are we going to date as the Hensley family? Not all of us, obviously, but as our family team, how are we going to approach dating? How are we going to teach the children to approach it? How are we going to do that? And I'm going to have to come up with an answer to that question. And I mean, right now, my answer is when my children understand dating and what it is and how it is done correctly and how it is done incorrectly. That's when I think I will, let them date. And so what might that look like practically? I haven't really gotten that far yet. Now, maybe it's whenever you finish listening to Daddy's 405 episodes on dating, you can go ahead and start dating, sweetheart. Maybe it's something else. I don't know. But either way, this podcast is kind of a tool that I can hopefully use to teach them what dating is, what the consequences of doing it incorrectly are, and the beautiful thing it can be when done correctly. And scripturally and with wisdom. And so, yeah, this is very interesting. Let's see what Matt's best parenting advice is. This is really beautiful, guys. I'm really excited for you to hear this.
Sometimes the way I appreciate my children is to imagine that there's a time machine that goes back in time, but the only side effect is you won't know you're back there. This is very Andy Bernard, last episode of The Office thing.
Yeah.
So sometimes if I'm like struggling with my children, I'm laying in bed, but I just want to go be with my wife or something, I think maybe this is one of those times. Like I have these weird ways of appreciating things.
Describe it more.
Yeah, so there's a time machine. You can go back in time. But when you're back there, you will not know that you took the time machine back.
You experience it as the present.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how you get back to I hadn't thought that through. And so I'll be laying with my son or my daughter or something, and I'll think, maybe this is one of those times. And then it'll help me to look for the nice thing in it. Another thing I do is I'll remind myself there will be a last time your child asks you to do X.
Yeah.
Dang. Are you guys hearing this? Like, this is so good. This is so good. First of all, man, such a great question to ask yourself. How can I actually appreciate these moments with my children more and therefore show up in such a way that I am doing my duties as a father to the utmost of ability in such a way that they will remember these moments for their whole life and then pass them on to their children. Do you see how this has escalating effects? Like, it starts, you don't think it's significant or meaningful in any way, but if you believe in generational living and if you believe in passing on what you've been given, and if you are going to teach your children to live the same way, then these little moments are incredibly consequential. Okay? How you show up in these moments is incredibly consequential because your children learn from you, number one, how to treat other people, particularly their children in these moments, because when they become a parent, they're going to think back to how you handled these times. Okay, that's what I do with my dad. That's what I do with my mom. Whenever I'm going with, and I always have done this, whenever I encounter the problem that they encountered, I think back to how they solved the problem, how my parents solved the problem, and your children are going to do this as well. So yeah, how you show up in these moments, how you learn to appreciate these moments, how you learn to show up as as a father that God has enabled you to be is really going to impact your kids here. Okay. And so he just said, basically, he imagines taking kind of a time machine back, and there's going to be a last time that your children ask you to do everything, okay? And you need to kind of treat these moments as the last time so that you do them the absolute best that you can, because they are very consequential. As I just referenced a second ago, these are what your children are going to think of when they think of you as a father, yes, but when they also think of how they're going to overcome the problems of fatherhood and motherhood with their children, they're going to look back on their experience with you. And so, man, this is good. And he's talking about learning to appreciate these moments, right? Learning to appreciate these moments, okay? Man, I just thought that was so significant. Look, let's hear him further.
You won't know when that last time is, right? Can you lay with me? You will not know. It will come, and you won't know what. So when that happens, I try to think this is the last time. All right. So this sounds a bit sappy, maybe, but I do this thing with my wife. I don't even know if she knows this or would care because she's just extroverted and crazy. If we're at a party or something like that, or like we'll be at a wedding, maybe I'll think to myself, what if I never had the guts to propose to her, and now here we are 20 years later and we bump into each other at this party, right?
Yeah.
I would be so angry with myself for wasting the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Did you hear that? That is the fruit of a good marriage right there. When you are able to sit in the marriage that you have created with your partner and say, man, if I had spent the last 20 years, the last 10 years, the last 5 years, the last 1 year in any other way than I have, I would be furious with myself for wasting my life. That is what a good marriage causes you to say, okay? That's what I have with my wife, and that's one of the reasons I'm so passionate about basically trying to get young people to understand what marriage is, what God has designed it to do, the things it enables you to do, okay, the way in which you are designed to live your life. These things are very, very important for young people to understand going into their early adulthood. Like, and I would even say way before that, like they should know this stuff moving into their teens so that when they get to their early adulthood, it's already solidified and kind of concreted. But man, this is the kind of person that you want to take marriage advice from. I've said it 1,000 times on the show, and I'll say it 1,000 times more because it's so important. You need to take marriage advice from people who are where you want to be and not people who shipwrecked on the way there or have never even set out on the journey to get there, okay? You need to take advice from masters of the craft. So look around you. Look to see who has the best marriage that you know of in your life, in your immediate vicinity that you have access to, that you trust. And the answer to that question is your marriage mentor. You don't need to be taking marriage advice from anything less than a really, really good marriage, okay? Same thing with anything in life. You don't need to be taking parenting advice from anybody except people you know have done it very well, okay? Same thing with starting a business. Same thing with anything. It's just common sense. Like, go to people who have a really, really good marriage, the best marriage that you are aware of, like the best marriage that you think you have seen. And maybe there's lots of people like that. There are lots of people like that for me. Like, go to those people and ask them, questions. You don't even have to necessarily ask them questions. You just need to be around them enough to see how they handle things, because that's how you learn to problem solve. And again, you have to choose your mentors wisely. Like, that's very, very important, because they're going to take you somewhere. Like, the mentors are going to take you somewhere, not just with their words, but with their actions, just by the proximity you have with them. Like, so you need to pick who you're, learning from. And again, they have to have a top tier marriage. I say that over and over. And ideally, you have lots of people with top tier marriages, but you need to only go to the ones with top tier marriages and not ones with marriages that you would not want to find yourself in. So this is just really good. I love the way
that makes sense.
That's great. Yeah,
I really mean that. I mean, it nearly brings me to tears. I just think, gosh, because I could have, right? I was dating, and I don't know. There was parts of me that's like, I don't know, maybe not. Like, maybe there's something better I could be doing. Maybe I could become a priest. I don't know.
Yeah.
But this idea that, like, well, what if we just then what was this last 20 years? Like, maybe you dated and I dated and so I'm like, oh gosh, I'm so glad I married her. I really am. So I guess the reason I brought that up is I would imagine when you say to them, you don't have to do this, it would give them the freedom to say yes.
Yeah.
Not just the freedom to say no, but
exactly.
oh, good, but yes, we want to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but what about like college students and dating?
Like
That's
advice.
what I
Okay. In the conversation immediately prior to this, Matt has just kind of asked Friar Mike what his, if he's cautious to give dating advice, what dating advice he gives, what's the current dating climate landscape of the world today, what are the problems and all that. And Friar Mike has just shown some hesitancy, right? He's like, I hesitate to give any dating advice. I kind of wait and see because I know people who I've told that you don't have to get married. And then, years down the line, they have a wonderful marriage. And he's basically just saying, I really don't know. I just tend to be really cautious. And then he gives you some things that he looks for. But yeah, I just, I think we need to have a lot more than 49% of adults ages 18 and older married in this country today, which is the rate we currently have. And I think it's not so much pushing people who are dangerous to one another into marriage as it is starting early and teaching them what marriage can be so that when they get when they find their partner, they are able to very easily move into the marriage season of providing and loving their partner, if that makes sense. Like a common critique people would have of me, I think what they would have of me is like, you push people to get married. You push people who are immature and not ready, quote unquote, to get married into marriage. And they may say things like, would you even do that for your kids? Number one, if you're never ready for marriage until you get ready. So like start making good decisions. Okay. If you just time doesn't do anything to fix that. If you just sit as you are making the decisions that you currently are, you're never going to be ready to get married. So time has nothing to do with this. This is a matter of decision making. This is a matter of choosing how you want to live. And number two, my children are not going to be aimless and unprepared and unaware of what marriage is when they get to the age at which they've found a spouse who is matched them in interest, investment, and commitment level. They're not going to be like that. They're going to be prepared. Okay, I'm going to have taught them how to commit to something. I'm going to taught them how to invest in something. I'm going to have taught them how to clearly communicate their intentions with the opposite sex. I'm going to have taught them this stuff. Okay. And so, yes, I am going to be pushing them towards the goal that I think has the best likelihood of producing happiness in their life and their children's life and their partner's life possible. I'm absolutely and unashamedly going to be doing that. It's scriptural. It is one of the, probably other than salvation, God's biggest grace in my life is my wife and our decision to get married. And from that, there are even more graces coming into my life now, like children. I, like Matt, when I look back at the years before Lainey and the years that we've spent together in the past of my life, am just overwhelmed with gratitude for the years that I've spent with my wife and filled with a righteous anger at the years prior to my wife where I was not making decisions that were conducive with my goal to live according to God's design in a marriage with my wife. Both of those things simultaneously just fill my heart when I think of that scenario he just described. Not even that specific scenario, just like looking back, reflecting on the past years of your life, like, man, I mean, my life is galaxies and universes better now that I am married. And I would never choose to live in any other way than I have with my wife for the past few years. And think about what I'm saying there, guys. Like, some of you can't say that about very many things, you young people. But if I'm able to honestly say to you, like, there is no other way I would have rather spent the last 2 years of my life than with my wife. You know, man, it's just so important. It's just so important. And from that, it's getting exponentially better. Like I said, like that's even before we had children. This is now going to compound and grow from our choice to get married. And so, yeah, I just think marriage can be a beautiful and amazing thing. This is not to say everyone does it correctly. There are lots of people who do marriage incorrectly. I'm sure you've seen some of them out there. But you got to take in marriage advice from who you want to find yourself in a similar situation to, and not people who, you know, have no idea, you know, A, what you're looking for, and B, how to get there. Like, just be very careful. This has been a good video. I'm going to keep it short and sweet today because I've had a long weekend. So thank you guys for listening today. Let me know your thoughts on Matt Fradd's advice that kind of links dating to having children. In the comments, in the YouTube comments, or send the podcast a voice message or a written message on Facebook or Instagram. It makes the podcasting system two-way, and it would make this a conversation instead of a boring monologue. Thank you so much for listening today. Appreciate you as always, and I will talk to you next time. God bless.